Hi, my name's Dave Ford. I'm from Bristol, in the UK, and I'm a politics and American studies major at the University of Nottingham. Currently studying at Texas A&M. It's great.
I'm Sam Horrell. I'm an English and history double major at the University of Nottingham as well, and I'm doing my study abroad at A&M. And my awesome friends are running this podcast.
Forgot to mention that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, it's been good so far. We've had like a really good time. We've done 7 or 8 months so far.
8 months.
8 months. So we've been here, just shy of a year. It's been a really good experience. It's definitely not what I thought it was going to be.
No.
I mean, you sort of have like these preconceived notions of what it's going to be like before you get here. So I mean, the English perspective of what Texas is going to be like, you have this sort of idea.
Everyone wears a cowboy hat all the time.
Everyone wears a cowboy hat, cowboy boots, which is true to an extent, like people do, but it's just not like as commonplace as we thought it was going to be.
A lot of people say to me, did you think that Texan people rode horses to school? I don't think I believed that. That wasn't my preconception, but definitely the cowboy hat thing and the boots.
Yeah.
Was my.
Whereas that was my preconception. I thought that they did. As did someone. I spoke to someone from New York the other day, and they also thought that people in Texas just weren't around in horses. And I was like, that's great. We're totally on the same page. But no, I mean, certain ideas about Texas that we had. Obviously like conservatism. It definitely is. And if you look at a place like England, which is like irredeemably like liberal,
yeah.
And then you come over here, that was, I think, for me, I don't know about for you, but that was the biggest sort of...
Yeah, no, I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Everyone hates Obama in Texas. Which wasn't very surprising.
Yeah.
It's been great. I've really enjoyed it. Sort of 8 months of just having really nice food, having nice beer, all of that. It's been really good. Some of it.
Shiner
is a
really
good bit. But Bud Light is terrible. Keystone Light's terrible.
Just like rusty water.
Yeah. Everyone drives everywhere. There's no public transportation, which I kind of found it quite amusing when I first got here, but it is actually extremely annoying.
It just means we've got no autonomy because we haven't got a car.
Yeah.
And we walked to the cinema once, and it's
the look of abject horror on your faces.
It's 2 or 3 mile walk. It's not far, and we were being beeped at. Yeah. People were shouting out the window, "Why are you walking? Why are you driving?" And I was just like, "That's 2 miles." Yeah.
No sidewalk.
Well, you've got. I mean, we were formerly under a 2-party system, so you had the Conservatives and Labour, and they sort of dominated the sort of arena for decades. But recently, and I think the last election that we had was, sort of exemplary of this, the Liberal Democrats did extremely well. They didn't do so well in terms of votes, in seats, but their popularity just skyrocketed because we had the first...
They were actually really popular, but because of the way our political system works, despite being more popular than they had been, they actually lost a seat.
Yeah, that's
a funny thing. And because of that, there wasn't a big enough majority. So the Lib Dems had to join up with the Tories for a coalition.
Which actually, I mean, it sounds shocking at first because they formally cultivated very different ideas.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we've spoken about this before. Whereas there was this dichotomy in sort of political thinking between the Conservatives and the Labour, it doesn't exist anymore.
No, it doesn't. Tony Blair changed that, didn't he?
Yeah, he changed
Labour.
There's no difference.
Basically, the problem we've got in Britain now is that we've got 3 parties who are essentially just social democrats, all got the same kind of policies.
Yeah.
Even when Ed Miliband complains to Cameron about taxes, and Cameron always says taxes are higher under Conservatives this year than they ever were under Labour.
Yeah.
Which is a really interesting thing.
Mm-hmm.
So the only reason I'd be scared of them is because I think pulling out of the EU is quite a dangerous game to play. Really.
I don't know what the repercussions would be yet.
No,
but I think
in
terms of trade, I think we would have screwed ourselves slightly if we put out the EU.
Yeah, but then again, people always say that. But why would rich German bankers stop buying Aston Martins if we pulled out of the EU? It just wouldn't happen. That's the argument they always use. So I don't really buy the whole trade argument. Really, I just think in a kind of international world, it's very good to be connected and have especially if Europe is an unstable region, we've seen it with Ukraine, So it's
the Ukraine it's not in the EU, but yeah.
Yeah, but I mean it's in the same. It's perilously close to Eastern Europe, Poland and all that. So I think it's very important to have close relationships with other countries.
Yeah,
And I think putting out of the EU would show that we're not bothered.
I think generally, I think the EU is a good thing. Definitely, it gives solidarity as well. Like countries like Greece, when they were in debt, I mean, I think the EU did a hell of a lot for them. So I'm very pro EU.
Yeah, I'm not as pro EU as Dave, but I would just say that I wouldn't necessarily pull out like that. I don't agree. I think like the immigration policy that they've got going on is a good thing in some ways, but in other ways, like open doors immigration is, it doesn't always work. Do you know?
The Schengen Agreement, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
People say this all the time, which is like, oh yeah, we want to leave the EU. That's just like, it's just catharsis. They don't actually want to leave the EU, I don't think, anyway. And this is another thing we've spoken about before, it's just like 90% of Brits will want to stay in the EU, I think.
So I think a lot of people will say that, I'm going to vote for Nigel Farage, if there is a referendum, they'll say, I'm going to vote to stay out, but when they get to the polling station, they'll just be like, hang on, what am I doing?
It's the same with Scotland as well.
It's going to be really difficult for me to go on my annual holiday to Spain now because I'm going to have to get a visa to go there.
Yeah.
Because that's the sort of thing that would happen if we pulled out of the EU.
Yeah, that's true.
And that would be annoying. And lots of people the sort of people who like voting in those kind of referendums see the benefits of being in Europe more than others. So generally in Britain we've got a bit of a problem with the fact that it's generally wealthier, more affluent people vote, and they're the sort of people that would take advantage of the good things that the EU offers.
Exactly right.
So that's why I think that we'll vote to stay in eventually.
Mm-hmm.
So they're voting to become independent from
which
us.
I don't think is going to go through.
I don't think it will go through.
It's this Alex Salmon guy who's a very, very influential man in Scotland as an SNP.
SNP, yeah.
But it's not going to happen. I'd be really surprised.
I'm sick of it, to be honest.
It's been going for years.
Yeah.
And no one cares anymore. I think it's going to be close.
I think it'll be close, but I think they'll vote to stay. I hope they do.
Because the institution is the UK and Great Britain and the British Isles. Just that won't exist as it formerly did because they're not loyal to the monarchy anymore. So it's
and also it won't work if they vote to become independent because their economy's not good enough. I don't think.
No, they've got a lot of oil, but apart from that, they're totally reliant on us.
They're reliant on us for a lot of things.
Yeah.
But as I said, I get quite sick of it, so
just wanted to be over and done with now, yeah.
It's a special relationship.
It is. When was it? Was it like it was Reagan and Thatcher that sort of got the ball rolling, wasn't it? I think. Maybe a bit before. It's probably like World War I and II, to be honest. But I think that's when I sort of first became aware of it. I think it's a really good relationship. Generally.
Yeah, I don't think it's as strong as it has been though. Because obviously, Blair and Bush were they loved each other. Whereas I'm not sure whether Obama really takes Cameron that seriously. Well, I think it's quite hard to take Cameron seriously.
Yeah, that's true.
He's kind of got those buttock-like cheeks, He's I don't know. I don't think Obama really takes Britain that seriously because we're kind of not as relevant as we used to be, really.
Not as powerful as we used to be.
No.
Not as involved in when Blair was in, he was involved in so much foreign policy, like Darfur, Rwanda. He was involved in everything. But I don't really know what we're doing anymore in terms of that. So
we're just
Yeah.
Basically, the way it works, as far as I'm concerned, is that you will do something and we will follow. That is generally how it seems to work.
And I'm happy with that. I think that's a pretty good way of doing it, to be honest. Yeah. I'm a huge fan of the welfare state and public spending. I think it's a good thing if someone is impoverished, whatever. It's nice to have something to rely on. So, I've been on job benefits when I couldn't find a job, and it's great that you can have that. And the Conservatives, although they do it, they're less keen to do it, I think. Would you agree with that?
Well, no, they're not going to cut the welfare state massively. They haven't. Thatcher was against it, but they haven't cut it back massively, really.
Yeah.
I don't think. I'm probably going to vote Tory Conservative in the next election because I don't like Ed Miliband. And frankly, to be honest, the problem we've got in Britain, I know you've got the same problem in America, is that a vote for pretty much any other party is pretty much a wasted vote.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So I'm probably going to vote for Cameron. I don't actually like him very much as the Prime Minister, but the economic plan that they harp on about all the time, kind of it's an economic-led recovery. So people aren't necessarily seeing the benefits per se, but eventually they will. And I just don't trust Ed Miliband doing that, and Ed Balls.
No. No.
My grandfather taught Ed Balls, who's the Shadow Chancellor at high school, and he said he was the most loathed pupil he's ever taught.
I can believe
teachers.
that. I can believe that.
So that's why you should vote for Labour.
Used to hate him, warming to him a bit. I've got to
I
admit.
don't like him that. Well, I mean, he's okay.
He's a bit smarmy, but he speaks a lot of sense, and he does sort of cover a huge range of politics, which I quite like. It's, the guy's an idiot. To be honest. Like, I mean, the way that because I'm Labour, sounds Conservative. The way that Miliband got in was just stupid because he was going up against his brother. David Miliband, who everyone loved him, but because of the trade unions, which Labour's reliant on, the trade unions wanted Miliband in. I mean, he's revised his position where he's going 2 or 3 times. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's useless, which is why I won't be voting in the next election as long as he's there. So yeah, it's the United Kingdom Independence Party, and it's sort of like a less radical BNP. The BNP is the British National Party, and that is just harboured these very, very stringent on immigration. You know, just as conservative as you can get.
They're basically like the
Tea Party.
Who? The UK?
BNP.
Oh, BNP, right.
And the UCAP is sort of, a less conservative version of that.
Yeah, they're basically like what the Tories were before Thatcher. I think.
Exactly. A lot of people are deferring to UKIP because they're speaking.
But they're certainly a very interesting party. Like they want to introduce I don't really agree with like the whole EU thing, but they want to introduce a flat rate of tax amongst everyone, which is kind of what I think you've got a similar kind of thing going on here. Do you? No. Okay. Sorry. Which I actually think is a good idea because I think it would work because our tax system in Britain is so hideously complicated.
Whereas I think the opposite.
Yeah. Okay. And he also wants to nationalise the railways as well, which I find very interesting.
Which is a good thing.
Which is a good idea because our rail system is appalling. Yeah.
At least we've got one though.
At least we've got one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're having televised debates now, and Farage has won every single debate when they've done polls.
He's a good orator.
He's a very good orator. He's kind of what I don't really agree with much of what he says, but he's what we need in Britain.
We find it. We've spoken about him before as well. And we warm to him because he's very, very accessible.
But
he goes to the pub. He smokes. He drinks. He crashed a plane or something.
Yeah, he's just like a kind of just a decent bloke.
Just an everyday guy. And
whereas politics in the the kind of people that go into politics in the UK are just the most insufferable people.
Just Etonians come out of.
Well, not even that. I don't mind about that, but just this dull people who just are only interested in self promotion. Whereas Farage actually had a life before politics. He was a stockbroker or something. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. No role
She's
anymore.
got no power. The Queen's got no power.
I mean, we were talking about this the other day. We're wondering how much longer we're going to have a monarchy.
It's the fact that she has no power. Well, she does have power, but she would never because if she exercised any power, there'd be an uprising, and she'd be.
I think she's just a good ambassador for the country as well. I mean, I like having a monarchy. I think it's pretty undemocratic. It is, yeah, of course it is, but I still quite like it.
Yeah.